Alright, lesson 2, hydraulic valves. Hydraulic system, you have the valve of the hydraulic fluid over the or oil to point to ensure the efficiency of operation, equipment the construction, equipment the repair of the must be valves, the control the repair procedure of the hydraulic system valve, the control of the actuator, cylinder converts the hydraulic energy to mechanical energy. For example, the tilt of the cylinder caterpillar D7 of the D8 dozer is an actuator control of the blade direction. Valves are often referred to the control of the hydraulic system, particularly with the several area of the built with a spring, and some of the valves are also controlled with the hydraulic system, regulate the pressure, create the special pressure condition of the regulate the flow rate of the direction of the fluid parts of the hydraulic system. Valves are also rated to describe the pressure capability of the proper pressure drop the vary for the flow of capacity capabilities must be the name of the function, some of the name of there for the construction. For example, the pressure relief valve, the name of the function for the drop of the valve, the name of the construction for construction valve, construction range for the symbol of the ball, and see the arrangement of the multi-element spool type of the valve, the jet pipe pilot stage and electric control. General construction classification begins with simple valve and builds the complex designs. Part A, pressure control valve. The general pressure control valves are most common. The valve of the engine construction equipment, the hydraulic system that are used to regulate pressure, create specific pressure conditions, control, order, and actuator operators. Pressure control operated with the hydraulic band. With the hydraulic balance curve of the pressure on one side of the end of the ball with the pop of the screw of the outpush with the spring opposite end with the during the operation position with the valve with the cover with the hydraulic pressure with the balance with the force with the spring with the spring force the difference the compression distance of the amount of the pressure can differ with the pressure control valve that has infinite position and control of the condition of the large and small valve with the small volume of the fluid flow and can completely restrict the fluid movement. Classification: pressure control valves are classified normally closed with normally open. Most common type of the normally closed block out fluid flow of the fluid with the inlet port outlet port with the pressure built with the high enough to cause the unbalanced operation flow of the normal open valve must move freely until the valve operates in the balance flow, then partially restricted with a complete cutoff of the pressure override the curve with the normally closed valve that operates in balance. Pressure becomes the increase with the height with the compression spring with the reduce the pressure of the valve cracks that begin with the flow through the outlet port and less than the pass with the large flow with the full flow with the difference between the full flow pressure for the cracking pressure is called override. Pressure relief valve. The relief valve, the most common pressure control of the relief valve. The relief valve, the two functions provide the overload protection with the circular component with the limit of the force of the torque of the serve of the line actuator for the rotor motive of the function. Relief valve may change depending on the system need of the valve. They're classified with the symbol of the compound depending on the design. The internal design of the pressure relief valve is similar. The valves are two sections of the body with the cover of the body contained with the piston, which was retained with the seat with one or more spring with the cover, also called a pilot valve. The section contained with the adjusting screw. With the adjusting screw control the full movement of the pump body with the control of the pressure expressed with the pounds per square inch of the psi with the range of the valve's rated capacity. The simple pressure for the relief valve. The simple pressure relief valve has one or one spring with the valve that is installed with one port connected with the pressure line and the other connected with the reservoir outlet. With the ball and simple pressure valve is held on the seat with the thrusting and spring with the mount with the thrust exerted with the modified term. The adjusting screw with the pressure is insufficient with the overcome the spring forth of remain ball. The ball remains on the seat of the ball with the clove of the figure of 21, page 24. Of the position of the ball for the vents flow of the fluid from the valve with the pressure for the air inlet exceeds the adjusting spring forth of the ball moves the opposite of the valve that opens the hydraulic fluid oil from the pressure line through the valve to reserve the flow prevents the pressure increase the pressure line with the pressure decrease the below the adjusting spring forth of the ball is reseated with the valve closed. Figure 2.1 shows the simple pressure relief valve. The adjusting screw the spring with the reserve of the ball and the seat from the pressure line. The spring force the simple pressure relief valve causes the greater full flow of the pressure for the cracking pressure for the operating the full flow capacity. The high pressure causes the valve to operate with the override mode. This must cause the override pressure almost to the higher than valve's rated capacity. 25. The compound relief pressure. The compound relief pressure valve at the top of the spring of the valve to adjust the fluid flow. They call it the figure 22. Show the passage 1. You have to maintain the hydraulic balance of the piston with the valve with inlet pressure less than 12 pressure rating valve with the valve setting. Determine the thrust of the adjusting spring. Adjusting the valve with the pressure of the valve with the inlet injury. Reach of the valve setting with the pressure passage 2. The reach rises to overcome the thrust spring 1, but then flow through the passage 1 creates sufficient pressure drop to overcome thrust. Spring 2 piston. The rise of the C with the shown up in view with the valve of the hydraulic fluid oil to pass through the drainage pour with the reservoir prevents any further increase in the pressure. 22 shows the compound pressure relief valve, and it's not shown like pressure relief valve that provides the emergency overload protection must be periodically cleaned, even if they are not operated often. They clean the valve to reduce the pressure adjustment operating with the valve under the pressure for a few minutes. Clean out the accumulated sludge deposits, adjusting the pressure to the prescribed setting. Or Part B, directional control valve. The complex directional control valve, the complex directional control valve used for the engineer construction equipment in JI case scooper loader model MW24C with a complex directional control valve, control direction fluid flow with a very considerable physical characteristic operation valve of the element. In these units, are classified under one of the following type: the pop of the piston with the move the ball or ball moves on as off seat. Rotary spool rotates around its axis, or sliding spool. The spool slides actually within a bore. Alright, valve classification. Direction control of the valve may be classified according to the method that you actuate the valve the element with the pop of the valve that you the hydraulic opposite the rotary spool valve may be operated manually, level or piston actuated mechanically, cam or tripped action, electrically solenoid action with the sliding spool valve may be operated mechanically, electrically, hydraulically, or combination. Direction control valves may also be classified according to the number of the position of the valve of the element with the total number of the flow path provided with the extreme position, for example, the 3 position, 4 way for the valve with the 2 extreme position and a central neutral position. Each of the extreme position have the 2 full paths. A pop valve. The operation simple pop of the valve shown in figure 23 with the head of the movable pop valve closed with the against the valve seat with the pressure for the inlet hole of the valve tightly closed with the site force applied with the pop of the stem to the opening of the valve. The pop of the stem usually has been O-ringed with the seal to prevent the leakage on some of the valve. The poppets are held in seat by springs. The 2-3 so is the single pop out with the inlet with the closed view with the pop of the valve with the swing outlet view with the open view. A sliding spool valve known as the piston type of the valve because of the piston of the 2 inner air of the equal side of the pressure inlet ports equally on both inner areas regardless of the portion of the spool. The ports sealed by the machine fit between the spoon valve and the body sleeve. The spool and sliding valve is classified with the body based on the flow of the conditions created with the neutral normal position. For example, the closed center spool with the block of the valve ports in its neutral position. Open center spool open the valve ports with a neutral position. Closed center with the open center with the 2 valve with the main design with the sliding spool direction control valve. Sliding spool valves are shown in figure 24 during the operation of the valve element. Slide back and forth, block and uncover the ports of the housing. Figure 2-4 shows the sliding valve with the open port block, piston closed to flow, closed view, and spool shifted to the left. Spool shifted to the right, the port opens to the open to flow, the open view. Two-way valve. The two-way valves control the direction of the fluid flow. With the hydraulic circle, the valves are usually sliding spool with the type of the spool with the moves back and forth, allow to prevent the fluid from through the valve. Figure 2-11, the four-way valve. The four-way valves control the direction of the fluid flow, and the hydraulic circle of the fluid movement control the direction of the work cylinder with the rotation of the fluid motor. The four-way valve usually sliding spool type with the head of the rectangular cast body sliding spool with the control level, the position with the spool decision fitted with the bore with the longitudinal axle valve body, then spool divided with the bore with the series of the separate chamber of the ports of the valve body with the lead into this chamber. The position of the spool determines the ports open, but each other in which receive the ports are sealed in one position may be interconnected with another position. For direction control valves, they have 4 valve ports, pressure return with the exhaust of the tube working. The pressure ports connect with the pressure line inlet with the return port, connect with the reservoir outlet with the tube working port that connects the actuating unit. Report C with the control valve repair. With the control valve and the J1K scoop loader model MW24C would enable the operator to direct the flow of hydraulic fluid and cylinder to operate the loader with the combination of the purpose of the function pressure relief with the direction control overload check valve. The valves have 3 operating spools shown in figure 25. Figure 25 with the control valve 1, 2, and 3. The upper spool with the control of the lift of the circuit with the center pool with the control of the tilt of the circuit, and 3 and lower spool with the control of the clamp of the circuit. The spool with the neutral position open the oil flow with the pump of the direction through the valve. The outlet port return the reservoir of the spool to move with the control linkage. The bypass of the closed oil filled with the spool loaded with the check valve is the cylinder port. At the same time, the port is opposite end of the cylinder is open to allow oil to flow with the control valve outlet ports. The disassembling of the control valve refer to figure 26 will complete the following step: the disassembling with the control valve. Alright, note before beginning with the disassembly with the clean the valve, the exterior port with the clean pound cell with the driving through lead plate for the control valve, assemble the clean workbench view with the open wrench for the loosen, remove the assembly 1. With the screwdriver, remove the wiper with the 2. With the assembly 1 with the discover the wiper 2 with remove the O-ring 3. With the assembly 1 discover the O-ring 3. Warning: do not over tighten the vise and discover the damage of the control valve body. Plate for the control valve assembly and the soft job of the vise. Loosen the detent of the housing 18 and shove the rod and small pry bar and the spool to I-31. Loosen the move with the 4 screw 4. Pull the next to 6 for the up of the cap at the just enough of the game of the axis of the wire with the cylinder soldered to the contact shag, unsoldered with the wire with the connector with the 6 for the contact. Remove the connector 6. J, remove the set screw with the K with the U with the screwdriver. Remove the retaining ring. A, remove the cap 9. L, remove the discard the O-ring 10. Remove the cap 9 from the cap 9. Note on some of the unit of the tape that might be even to hold the coils 11 and 15. The spacer 12 of the prevent their removal if the removal is not desired. Disregard 213 M and paragraph 213 M and 213N. Remove the coil L with the spacer 12 with the detent with the housing 18. Warning: hold the coil 11 against the spring 21. The tension loosening with the screw. Failure to do so could result in serious injury from flying parts. Alright. L. Loosen the screw 13 for the coil, 11 again for the spring 21. Tension for the tape of the is around with 11 and 15. Space for 12 of the screw 13. Hold in the hole. Have not been loosened with the stub of the 7th. Remove the coil 11 through 15. Space for 12 of the screw 13. Washer 14. The stub and 16. The stub 17 with the washer 19. Spring 22. And the washer 24 with the assembly. Go on to paragraph 213. If the tape is around with the coil with 11 15. The space for 12 of the screw 13. And the washer 14 and 16. Assemble to go to paragraph 213. If the tape is not used for the loosen of remove the screw 13 with the washer and the stub of the 17 with the assemble the screw with the 13, loosen for the stub with the 17, remove the only screw 13 and the washer 14. Go to paragraph 213S. Remove the discard of the tape of the screw with the coil of 11 and 15, the space for 12 of the tag of the unsoldered coil with 11 and 15. Wire separate the coils 11 and 15, the space for the 12 of the screw with 13 with the top loosen with the stud 17, the washer 24 with the spring 22. Remove the stud 17, the work of the washer with the 24 with the from the stud of the 17 with the remove the spring 22 with the washer 19. Remove the screw with the washer 14, the stud of the 17. Remove the coils 11 and 15, the space for 12 with the screw with the 13. Loosen with the stud of the spring seat 20 and the spring seat spring 21 and 22 with the washer 24 with the if the screws are 13. Loosen with the stud of the 17 with the spring seat 23 with it goes to the 23W. Remove the coil 15 with the washer 16 with the housing. Remove the washer 19 with the spring 20 with the spring seat 21. Remove the two springs 21 and 22 with the remove the spring seat 20 with the washer and 24 with the unscrew. Remove the stud 17 with the spool 29 with the already removed the bore W. Remove the retainer 27 with the O-ring 26 and 28 from the spool 26 and 29 with the bore with the discard of the O-ring 26 and 28. Remove the X. Remove the retainer 27 with the O-ring 28 with the spool 29 with the bore discard the O-ring 28. No clean all metal parts of cleaving compound with the solvent in the air and the drive that do not use compressed air. 214. Inspect and repairing with the control valve. Refer to figure 26 with page 29. Complete the following step with inspect the repair with the control valve. Inspect the counter valve with the control valve with the body with the cracked brake for the other damage. Inspect the spool for the bore with the groove with the scratch for the other visible wear of the damage. Discard the remove the entire control valve with the body. Inspect the spool 29 with the groove with the deep scratch for the other than the visible wear of the plate with the spool is necessary. Free length with the spring with the 22 should be 2.639 inches. The spring gauge for the check with the force gauge for the compressor of the spring 22 to 1.375 inches to 13 is 13.5 to 16.5 pounds. Force required to compress with the spring 22 with the 0.938 inch should be 18 to 22 pounds. Replace the spring with the free length of the force required to press it is not specified. The free length of the spring 21 with the be 4.1 inches for the spring of the gauge. Check with the force required. Press with the spring 21 with the 2.1 to 20 inches to 27 to 33 pounds. The force required to compress with the spring 21 to 1.375 inches should be 38 to 48 pounds. Place the spring 21. The free length of the force required to compress is not specified. Connect the multimeter across the 11 wire with the multimeter should indicate the 45 to 65 ohm resistance. Connect with the multimeter across the one wire with the coil 11 inch metal housing. The multimeter should indicate infinity open circle of the repeat the multiple test multimeter with the test with the second coil wire with metal housing. And again with the reading should indicate infinity. Place the coil multimeter reader down specify the repeat the paragraphs 214 on second coil the 15 the F the re-inspect the remaining parts of the crack break and deformation distortions damaged strips or threads. 215. Reassembling the control valve. Refer to figure 226 of the page 29. Complete the following step to reassemble the control valve. Note coat all the valve parts and buy the bores for the engine oil before reassembling the process. Place the rod through the hole, one hole with the spool 29 with the plate for the spool and 29 soft gel vise. Install the sleeve 33 when the spool 29 with the sleeve shutter holder up. Place the small amount of retaining compound with the threads for the spool 29. Install the new ring O-ring 32 when the spool 31. Install the spool I when the spool with the 29. Tighten the 19 to 21 foot-pounds. Install the new O-ring 30 on the spool bore on the control valve body and lubricate the spool 29 on the bore with the cleaning lubricating and install the spool 24 in its bore. Install the rod of the pry bar on the spool I-31. Place for the control valve assembly and soft gel vise. Install the new O-ring on the 28 with the bore on the control valve body. Install the retainer 27 on the bore. Place the new O-ring 26 on the spool 29. Install the retainer 25 at the place. The washer 24 on the spring seat 23 on the spool 29. Make sure the washer on the 24 the spring seat with the 23 hole. Install the two springs 21 and 22 with the spring seat 20. Install the washer 19 with the spring seat 20 with the intent all the detent housing with the control valve body. Tighten the detent housing 30 to 32 foot-pounds. Install the washer 16. Install the coil 15. Fasten the lead end together with the tape. Zero small amount of the retaining the compound stud internal threads for the screw 13. Stud with the 17 separated with the install washer 14. Screw the stud tightening with 10 to 15 pounds. Place a small retaining compound with the stud 17 threads. Install the stud 17 with the dent housing 18. Push down the turning screw 13. Install the stud 17 with the spool 29. Tighten the 19 21 foot-pounds. Install the spacer 21 to 10 with the housing 18. Install the coil 11. Install new oil rings 10 on the cap 9. Feed the housing for the coil of 11 through the and 15 through the cap 9 and 9 hole. Install the cap of the detent housing 18 along the cassette screw of the set of the hole within the detent housing. Install the retaining ring 8 and the cassette screw. Tighten the cassette screw 7. Solder the coil 11 and 15 with leads the connector either the rosin core solder one lead at each of the coil 11 15 to contact B, then 5 of the connector solder with the second lead with the coil 15 to contact A, 5 of the connector second lead with the coil 11 to contact C, then the connector 6. Position the connector on the 6 on the cap 9. Install the tighten 4 screws 4. Remove the rod of the pry bar on the spool I-31. Install the new O-ring 3 and the seal assembly 1. Place the assembly 1 in the hydraulic press thread end down. Place the wiper on the 2 on the seal assembly. Use 1 3/4 inch diameter rod. Press the wiper onto the seal assembly until the wiper is flush with the top of the bottom of the baby. Install the tighten seal assembly 1. Install the control valve assembly. Or testing and adjusting the control valve. Testing the control valve assembly observed during operation with the oil with the recommended operating temperature. The engine running the fast valve. Check at the time the required the rate for the empty buckle. The screw the load of the ground to take it with a high raised position. Should take approximately 6 seconds. This takes more than 6 seconds. The bucket to raise. Ensure that the reservoir is filled with the proper oil level to save the appropriate technical manual oil is specified in the appropriate TM. Suction line is unrestricted with the strainer is clear. The swoop leader is operating with the correct fast idle the speed the stated with the appropriate TM and the power steering with the pump of the power demanding the valve of the operation properly. Repeat the test with the load of the bucket. The lifting time is good, about 6 seconds. Empty bucket, but slowly load the bucket. Check with the cylinder pack of the pressure relief valve of the valve of the hydraulic pump. And that completes the reading of the lesson 2 of the construction equipment repair hydraulic system subcourse EN 526 edition B, United States Army Engineering School, Fort Leonard, Missouri 64573. 4 credit hours, effective date number November 1999.